Okay, Mr. Houston, welcome to the meeting, sir.
Along with you, I give it back to you to charge. This is our town, everything.
Mr. Houston? Douglas? Okay, I don't think you're quite fully engaged at this point. But Mr. Militant, please introduce yourself to the group and tell us a little bit about what our expectations should be about.
All right, well, good morning, good afternoon. I know we're all in different parts of the world. I'm George Middleton. I am a therapist. I'm a musician. I'm also an author. And I am promoting a series of works addressing the connection between our mental health and the number one affliction that is affecting the Africans specifically and the globe in general, and that is race ideology. And I'm coming from a mental health evidence-based process. If you see on the slide, my mantra is using evidence-based strategies over guesswork. So I hope to share with you in this information. You're not going to hear personal opinion. You're not going to hear political ideology. You're not going to hear religious dogma. Not that any of those things are bad. It's just that when it comes to problem solving, those aren't the paradigms that you want to operate from to solve objective problems. And so the information that I hope to present to you today is objective based. It's not my information. It's the facts of whatever the situation we're going to address. I'm really excited about the global nature of this group, and I've said this several times to Mr. McLean already, how grateful I am that he has, allowed me to be a part of this great platform he's created. And the global nature of this is huge, has huge potential and huge impact, because I'm presenting from the United States perspective, but now I get a chance to actually mix and mingle with those who are outside of that United States bubble, and we can start to begin to align our experiences, align our ideas, align the identification of what's really afflicting us, because often what I find as it pertains to race is that it looks different in different parts of the world. And because of that, we may not see that it's the same thing affecting us. It's just dressed up differently. And so I'm really excited about having that option, that opportunity with this group to start to begin to unweave that web, so that we can start to be more aligned and more collective in how we're seeing things. And then the purpose and importance, I really want to express here the purpose and importance of why I'm doing this work, why I'm here presenting to you, is the first one is Project 2025. And if you're not familiar with Project 2025, you really need to take some time and become very familiar with that. We are in a war of ideologies. It's not about physical war, it's about mental warfare. And Project 2025 is a manual of mental warfare. Another interesting statistic that you may be familiar with, it's projected that by the year 2053, somewhere in there, the average wealth here in America, the average wealth per Black family will be less than $0. This fact. It's not an opinion. It's not, well, if we get the Republicans in, then it won't happen, or if we get the Democrats, it doesn't matter which party gets in. The way the system is set up, the current economic trajectory that the quote unquote Black racial demographic is on, the average wealth per Black family is going to be $0. And if you check today, the wealth per Black family is not that impressive as it is. And don't conflate individual success. There are pockets of success in our community. There are people in our community that are doing really, really well. But what we do is we go for the okie doke. We figure because one person is making it, then racism is over. Nobody's got a problem. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Statistically speaking, it's not true. It's not factually so. And then the last point I'll make about why this is important is that I'm not sure if you all are aware of this, but here in America, racism has been officially declared a public health crisis. Now that presents a cognitive dissonance for a lot of people, because if I said COVID is a public health crisis, you could automatically make that connection. But when you say racism is a public health crisis, people just kind of like their eyes glaze over, like, what does that mean? But what I can tell you, because I'm not going to get into the weeds of it, what I can tell you is that every major medical and psychological association is on the declaration across the country of racism as a public health declaration. So that's something that we really, as a racially Black demographic, we need to get our hands around. Now, public health crisis, it didn't say it's a Black public health crisis. It's a public health crisis. That means it's affecting the white racial demographic too, but they just don't see it the way we see it. So with that being said, what I'm going to take you through, this is called community. This program that I'm asking you to consider is called the Black Vote Community Over Party: An Examination of the Current State of the Black Vote and Its Effectiveness in Implementing the Black Agenda. And what this is, I put in on the Facebook post, Mr. McLean's Facebook post, my website. And what this program is a multimedia presentation that provides education, self-reflection, and then offers steps for application. Education is important to have the correct information with which to make decisions off of. Most of us will address an issue without having the proper information. And I'm a musician, and one of the mantras that I grew up with was practice makes perfect. And I used to really believe that. I used to suck that in. I see Mr. Ross is right with me. He knows where I'm going. And a producer, I was in the studio recording one of my albums, and the producer said, "George, practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect." Blew my mind. Because that means that you can practice, you can be good, just as good at practicing something wrong as you can be good at practicing right. Blew my mind. And when addressing these issues, often we are rehearsing wrong tactics, and we've got them down to a fine science, but they're not working. You got to have the right information, the right process, the right strategy if you're going to take effective action. Another boxing analogy is when you swinging at your opponent and you miss. It takes more energy to swing and miss than it does to swing and hit. And when you swing and you miss, you become morally disheartened. It just saps your confidence. It's like, I keep missing, and that's what our experience has been in this country and in this globe. Is we're swinging, we swinging now, we in the fight, we throwing elbows and everything, but we missing most of the time. And then lastly, to leave you with ways to empower you with the information. How do we take action? So in this multimedia presentation of Black Vote, the education part of this, begins with a brief overview of state and local government. And I don't mean to do this to sound to insult anybody's intelligence, but what I found out in doing this process is that a lot of us don't know the basic format of state and local government. And it's not meant to be as a criticism. It's not meant to say, you know, ignorant Black people. That's not it. That's not the point here. It's part of our conditioning. It's part of the environment that we're in. One of the conferences I attended, I heard this presenter say, the mind cannot both survive and improve at the same time. The mind cannot both survive and improve at the same time. You're either in survival mode or you're in thrival mode, but you can't be in both. And so if you look at the statistics of racial disparities in our community, collectively, the African American African community is in survival mode. We're not thriving in any major systems. And so politics, you know, understanding local and state government, that's probably lowest on the rate of importance when someone's trying to get a bill paid, get some quick money, get out of jail, keep from getting harmed in the community from community violence. You know, we're in survival mode. So this part of the presentation is important for those who may not have the basic knowledge of state and local government works. The second component of the education piece is to inform the participant on how race is being specifically and intentionally used to dilute and negate our collective voting power as a Black racial demographic. There are so many strategies and tactics that are used that are designed to keep us misinformed and disinformed and unable to communicate effectively around the vote. It's hugely important. I don't know if you've been following the news on voter suppression, racial gerrymandering, how the Supreme Court just supported Louisiana's right to just keep their voting district down to one Black voting district when Louisiana is primarily Black. There's all kinds of intentional attacks that impact us way before we get to the voting box. The vote begins way before you go to that booth. And most of us are thinking, just, you know, let's do a voting drive. Let's get everybody to the polls. Let's get, you know, it's important, but there's a lot of stuff that has to happen for that vote to be effective before you get there. Then from there, we move to the next component of self-reflection. And in this area, we're dealing with identity, and especially as it pertains to politics, identity. And, you know, the title of this multimedia presentation is called The Black Vote, Black being an identity. And historically and currently, we have really been in a generational identity crisis. And these are things that I'm going to that this program will have you meditate on, and it will challenge you to really address how you see yourself and how you see others. Look at this historical transition of identities that we've gone through. This is not just some made up stuff. This is real stuff. And you can have a discussion with someone today, and they'll get in an argument saying, "I'm not black. Well, I'm Negro," and the other person will say, "Well, I'm not Negro. I'm black," and we'll stand on 10 toes about that with each other. Some people don't accept African American. This is important. The purpose, the reason this is important is I challenge the participant to ponder on this. How strong can the black vote be if black voters don't even agree on their own identity? Think about that. And often what happens is you'll get someone will say, "Well, we're not a monolith. Everybody has their own opinions and disagreements," and that's true. But you see on the slide, we have to, as a collective racial demographic, we have to get to the point where we can disagree on issues, but agree on our standard. And as a racial demographic, my premise is that we don't have any standards. All the standards that we pretty much adhere to are the standards of white supremacy, the standards of assimilation. Because those are what we base our survival on. We need to know what those white standards are, because that our very survival depends on that. And then the third component, the most important component, is application. And that's why I was so intrigued by Mr. Ross's concept of the Black Growth and Development Plan, 10-year plan. This 5-floor strategy is what every successful cultural group implements. It's not rocket science. It's not the latest and greatest, newest idea. This is old as the country. Oh, and maybe even older than the country. But every successful cultural group utilizes this 5-floor strategy. And this comes from Dr. Claude Anderson, author of Powernomics, A Prescription for Black America. Very powerful brother. And so again, when I was listening to Brother Ross, it put me in that mindset, because Brother Ross is, you're a thinker, I can tell. I like to just walk through your mind one day, man, just to run into stuff. But it's important that we have this plan, that we have this strategy. This is the plan. This is the strategy. You have to have this. Every group is doing these things but us. And that's fact. And this multimedia presentation will show you how we're doing, how that's happening. But every other culture group that's successful is applying this strategy, but us. I call this, I try to be kind of cute with this, but this is training plus action. So I call this platform a traction plan, because we do a lot of training. We go to a lot of events. We have a lot of discussions. We do a lot of chat rooms, get some good discussion going on. But then after it's over with, we come back 6 months later, a year later, and we'll actually have the same exact discussion, because nothing moved. It's time for that to stop. And a group like this, exploring the continent of Africa, a group of some really powerful minds, man, when the energy of the minds in this group lock on to the same vibration and decide to take effective action, ain't nobody gonna stop y'all. Ain't nobody gonna stop you. And you don't have to do a lot of yelling. You don't have to put out a sign and let people know what you're getting ready to do. It's just gonna be done. It's just gonna get done. So in this program, you're going to go through. You're going to have it's interactive activities. So you're going to go through what's called a racial intelligence assessment. You're going to go through a cultural trust survey. And then I borrowed, the first two are mine, but I borrowed some questions from what's called the National Survey of Black America. That there were some questions in that survey that I think we need to really focus in on. And from that, what this does is it has you assess yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, where you stand within your community so that you can take correct, effective action. You can't know where you're going if you don't know where you are. What I'd like to do, just to give you a taste of what this experience is like, this is a shortened form of the racial intelligence assessment. If you all would be so kind, take the next 5 or 10 minutes to take your cell phone and click on that. And it's about 10 questions, I believe. I'd like you to answer them. It's not about getting the right answer. It's about getting the answer that's authentic to you. And just take the next 5 or 10 minutes. Take the exam here, and then let's come back and I want to discuss it. I want to see how this potentially affected you, the experience of doing this assessment. I'd like to get your feedback on it. So let's do that. Before I'm going to just like blank out for a minute while you take it, but before I blank out, does anybody want to say anything, have some feedback already before you do this?
Yes.
Okay, go right ahead.
Well, thank you so far for the presentation. I apologize for entering late, but I just literally drove into my driveway. But I had to be in support of my brother so that I could at least let him know that he has my complete support. So that I might be able to understand more about the racial intelligence assessment. Who created the assessment and what factors were involved in the decision to create the assessment? For example, what biases or non-biases exist in the assessment? Is it an intelligence survey created by African Americans or Europeans or all races? Help me understand what the intent is.
Yeah, this is all my work, brother.
Great.
Yeah, this is my work, and so it will address all those questions that you asked me. Yes, because I'm coming from a therapeutic, clinical-based perspective. So that's what this is designed to do. Ultimately, we're trying to change behaviors as it pertains to racism, as it pertains to inequality. It's not about policy, it's about mentality. And so we have to begin with our thinking. And my theoretical orientation as a mental health therapist is cognitive behavioral theory. As a man thinketh, so is he. And so that's what my activities are modeled on. They're modeled on evidence-based therapeutic interventions that are known to improve and change behaviors. But it has to start with how a person is thinking. I hope I answered your question effectively.
Yes, you did. And the other part of that question is, in terms of your background and your ability to assess our African ancestral component, what background do you have in regards to African perspectives within the continent of Africa on assessing one's identity and habits and behavior?
So, great question. As a therapist, it's not about me being the expert. You are the expert of your own experience. I'm not here to tell you what to think, to tell you what's right, or to tell you what's wrong. I'm only here to challenge your thinking, to get you to identify your own thinking. ultimately you have to make the decision for what you think is right based on the information that you have. So I don't come on as an expert in African affairs or anybody else's affairs. I am a mental health expert, so I can give you that. But as far as addressing these issues, we're all experts here. We all have the answer here. And we're in a collective and collaborative environment. We're more likely to come up with a correct solution that represents all of us.
Thank you. I appreciate that. One final question. In your assessments, or in this assessment, what emphasis have you placed on assessing the spiritual aspects of a person?
Well, as a mental health therapist, I honestly believe that you can't get any more spiritual than the mind. I love the scripture, as a man thinketh in his heart. As a man thinketh in his heart. That's a really powerful scripture. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. I believe that is the foundation of a spiritual presentation.
Mr. Middleton.
Yes, sir.
I filled it out and I called myself, what did it say? Submit, but it didn't go anywhere.
Okay, that's okay. But you have the answers in front of you?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, don't worry about it. Whether if it didn't submit, let's not worry, because again, this is just a taste of it. So
Okay. Well, you know,
George, I want to acknowledge that I'm having difficulty, maybe because of the type of phone I have, trying to get those questions. So when you get to a point in place, you got consensus from everyone. Maybe you can read out each question if you don't mind.
sure, I can do that. Is
And
anyone
then
else
we
having
can just
problems?
respond. Okay.
Is anyone else having problems?
Yes, I am as well.
I'm gonna do it myself to see where it's taking me. I
I submitted mine.
So you're able to do yours?
Yes.
Yeah, it's coming up for me too, but that's okay. I think that's a great idea. So let me do that, Brother McLean. I will read the questions off.
Okay.
For those who aren't able to access it. Are you guys ready?
Yeah, hold it. Dr. Cook, Kenneth, and Douglas, are you guys able to respond to the questions, or have you responded?
Well, I'm on my cell phone and it won't allow me to do it that way.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay,
Kenneth?
awesome. Okay.
You actually have to screenshot the scan
I've
and
done
then
that.
go to your search engine and it'll come up.
Okay.
I tried that on my cell phone. I guess it's antique-ish. I don't know, but phone is right. Kenneth, are you okay? And Douglas? Kenneth? Douglas, are you there? Guys might be logged in, but maybe away.
I'm here, Tyrone.
Okay, are you able to go through the survey? Have you been able to accomplish that?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so then you're going to be like myself and Dr. Cook at this point. Douglas, are you still there, or are you there? Oh, okay, brother. So are you able to do it on your cell phone, Douglas? George, I'm not trying to overpower your meeting, sir, but maybe you just might need to pick it up from here.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, I hear you now. Were you able to answer those questions?
No, I'm on my cell phone also.
Okay, so you're having problems. Okay.
Okay, so for those who haven't been able to access it, if you can get a pen and paper, that will help you to do this. But I'll read them and give you some time to consider them. Question number 1. This is a multiple choice question. Human beings. Okay, there's some noise there.
Yeah, hold on. Let me see who's that.
Okay, human beings are A, a race, B, a species, or C, all of the above. Human beings are, multiple choice, A, a race, B, a species, or C, all of the above. Question number 2. Let me know if I'm going too fast. Race is A. Race is A, genetic, B, a construct, or C, real.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure.
The next multiple choice question. A person's race can be determined by A, DNA, B, society, or C, neither of the above.
Right. He told which when he came over.
Next multiple choice. Racism is A, hate based on skin color. B, the belief that one color is superior to another color. C, systemic mistreatment and abuse of non-white groups contributing to racial disparities. Or D, does not exist. Next multiple choice question. A racist is A, a person who believes in and practices race ideology. B, a person who publicly states dislike for people based on skin color. Or C, white people. This next question is a true false. Anyone can be a racist as long as they maintain the system of white supremacy. True or false? Next question. Race and culture are the same. True or false? Next question. white is a color. True or false? Next question. This is the one that you can just expound on. If white is a color, what does people of color mean? Next question, multiple choice. A social construct is A, something people made up and agreed to. B, a scientific principle. Or C, based on objective fact. Next question. Jesus is white. True or false? And the last question. Jesus is black. True or false? So I'd like to open it up and let me hear. I want the unvarnished truth on what you thought about the questions, the assessment, what was the experience like, what you have strong disagreements with or dislikes about. Give it all to me. This is a safe space. So I've got thick skin. You can't hurt my feelings. So let's have.
Let me.
Hold it, guys. Before anybody respond, be mindful that there are other participants in the group that might want to share their opinion. So sort of limit your response, if you will, because we want to be cognitive. Other individuals want to participate. But go on. I'm sorry. Lawrence?
Oh, okay. Let me say I'm so glad that the books you've written, some of them at least, are down below in their titles. Okay? Because I'm one that believes he know everything. Okay? But we get you. And yeah, I think I got everything right, along with some subtleties up in between.
Okay.
But let's go ahead, onward.
And what was the experience like in taking that assessment for you? What did it feel like to go through these questions for you?
It made me feel like going inside, parts going inside my head, the knowledge that I picked up from other places and put together, it's like my feeling. I know the answer to that. That's not difficult. Everybody should understand this, but that's me. And that's why I'm glad you got the book on racism, so forth, to correct my wrong thoughts. I'm good.
Okay, all right. I appreciate your honesty there, brother. Anybody else want to share their experience of taking this assessment?
Yes, I thought that William is my name. I thought that this was a good foundational assessment and a very good basis to start from. However, I was wondering why you didn't start from the origins of terms and concepts in terms of just simply referring to American concepts, and I was interested in understanding why. I think that race, or at least color, is not a race, or black or white is not necessarily an identity or a heritage. So that's my concerns. But I think that it was a good start. So I appreciate you. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. The purpose of this, there's several purposes for this assessment. And when you get, if you all choose to accept this program within your framework, you're going to, there's a lot more questions that are equally as challenging. But one of the first purposes of this assessment is just to get a gauge of where we all are. You know, we're a group that's come together for a specific purpose. However, what you find on assessments like these is that everybody has their own opinions and viewpoints about what this thing called race is. So if you're going to be a team, how effective can you be if you're all operating under your own personal ideas, beliefs, thoughts, knowledge, information on this very important topic? You're not going to be very effective as a team. So that's the first thing that we want to assess is, how are we collective? How collective are we as a group in understanding the facts of these answers? So that's all I really want to address here. And then also, as Brother Ross said, just to get people in the practice of becoming self-reflective, because that's what this is about. Self-reflection is not about blaming yourself. It's not about trying to find out if you're right or wrong. You know, I don't deal, as a therapist, I don't deal with right, wrong, blaming, shaming. Those things don't work. That doesn't work. We need to get out, we need to step out of the emotion of the thing and get into the facts of the thing. And then when you deal with it from an objective fact, 9 times out of 10, when you make your decision based in fact, it will align with your values and your emotions. But if you try to solve a problem from an emotional standpoint, you tend to inflame things, make it worse, and cause more damage. Okay, who else wants to share? Crickets?
Folks, I'm sorry, but we can't have this. Somebody has to respond here. And this is how we grow as a group, where everybody, your comments are important to us and to yourself. So don't come in here and get scared and frightened and all that kind of stuff. This is about discussion. This is how we open up. This is how we grow. So I know we got people in here that have very strong opinions, and that's great, but that's what I need you guys to do. Let's open up. Let's have some open discussion.
Okay. Thank you. I have an additional question if you want to go further. I am
Yes, sir.
a clinician as well as a pastor, and I have a corporation that deals with spiritual wellness and development. My question was a lot to do with how were you using the term culture, term black and white, so that we can assess our identity.
Can you restate that question again?
The choices or the questions about our identity as black or white, or those terms, references, how are you using those to help us assess ourselves?
As when you go through the process, you're going to be exposed to information that will help you make the final determination on that. Because again, I don't come here, my purpose is not to tell you how to identify, what is the right way to identify, what you should identify as. I'm only here to share with you information so that you are making informed decisions, whichever way you decide to go.
Thank you.
Look, I think we throw race around too liberally. And you need to identify, give us a definition of how you're using race before you start the survey, because a lot of the questions that you ask Black people has more to do with their own personal prejudices than race, because we have no power. We're in a system, and race means power where I'm from. I'm from Texas. A racist has the power to affect your life the moment he steps in it. And you know that. You grow up knowing that. And I'm 71 years old, so my concepts of race and how it affects my people are going to be a lot different than my 44-year-old son, my 22-year-old granddaughter. They grew up each one of them grew up in a different environment. And my 22-year-old granddaughter, being mixed, she has no concept of race. She thinks that she can split the line. So if she took this analysis, she wouldn't even know how to answer. As you get to my children, they were brought up in a Afrocentric household, and I am a Pan-Africanist. And they were brought up with those types of indoctrinations, let me say, because they would take the test and both of them would come out with different answers for the same thing. But their thing about race would be just like mine. Give me a definition as to how we're going to use race in the survey before you ask me to answer the questions.
So, so to your initial statement that you believe that race is used too liberally.
Yes, I do.
I would 100% agree with you. There's a saying that I use all the time. Everything isn't always about race, but race is in everything.
And I agree with you 100%.
So here's the point. In order to quantitatively determine when it is and when it isn't about race, you got to have the correct information to make that decision.
You're right.
Now, you individually may have that information. I don't know you that well, so you may have it. This is about individual assessment and then our collective assessment. Is everybody on the same page with Mr. Houston? And 9 times out of 10, what you'll find out is that no, everybody is not on the same page. And again, this is not about who's right or who's wrong. That's not the point here. This is not a competition. We're not trying to show who's got the better facts and that's not the point here. The point is we're a team trying to address the problem. And that old school parenting advice that used to tell me, attack the problem, not the person. And often in these discussions, they turn into personal attacks on each other because we're operating on different understandings. And now, if your understanding doesn't quite meet with my understanding, that makes us at odds with each other. And that's how race works. It just keeps you divided. So everybody has perspectives. There's really nothing about a wrong perspective here. Everybody comes from a perspective from their experience. But if we're going to collectively attack this problem, we're going to have to learn how to embrace everybody's perspectives without dismissing people, without making people feel small or dumb or irrelevant, and attack the actual problem. And that's the goal of this process.
I think you made a good point, and I think your assessment survey is an excellent one. It's not based on the methods that we perhaps may have received in training, but it's a good starting place for foundational, fundamental basis to begin to do exploration into one's own individual self. What I wanted to ask you was, how further do you go in your assessment in terms of a group? Like, for example, is there some dialogue about definitions or terms or their original conceptual creation of the terms? For example, the terms that we use in America are terms that are not original terms, whether it be in this nation or any other nation. These terms are created or come from someone's imagination, and they were originally other terms and other contents. All I was trying to understand is when does the term or the definition enter into play in your assessment?
It comes in towards the application part of the process. When you're trying to, as an organization, determine what's your mission, what are your goals? The answer for one group, I do this process with a variety of different organizations and different groups. Each one has a different mission, but the end goal is the same in terms of we're trying to address inequality. So, but there's many ways to get there. So what works for one group based on their mission statement may not necessarily work for this group. So with this group, you all would be in control of deciding how to use this information, how to best make it meet the mission statement, objectives, and goals for exploring the continent of Africa.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I could go on, but I want to make sure I respect everyone else.
No, please, no, don't hold yourself back. Don't hold yourself back. If you got more, please do. This is good.
So then,
Go on, Dr. Means, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. So then for this group that's got a definition of its purpose, what then would you say to us for persons who are looking for assessing themselves as persons who are interested in the continent of Africa, or persons who are interested in learning that terms, the original terms that were used for identifying ourselves vary and differ than they do in America?
Okay, restate that question. You kind of chopped in and out on that for a minute. Say that question again, please.
I apologize. Because we're looking at the continent of Africa, the continent of Africa uses original terms that we do not use in America. Where does that reference to the terms or the origins of terms come into play in this meeting?
Yeah, I love that. Often when I'm doing my presentations here in America, I'll ultimately have 2 or 3 people who are African born, who have just come here to go to work or whatever reasons they have. And I get it every time. And one of them will say, you know what, George, I didn't know I was Black till I came to America. Because it's a different environment. The difference between the African born in America versus the African born in Africa is that the African born in America is nowhere clearly in touch with his cultural history. All he has is his racial identity. Now, the colonization has taken place across the globe. But in countries outside of America, the one thing that those cultures that were colonized had going for them is that they were still able to stay connected with their culture. And culture provides you an amazing resilience to racial attacks, because race is an ideology of exploitation. It comes to attack you, strip you of the essence of who you are so that you can become conditioned to whiteness and serve the needs of whiteness. That's what race is designed to do. In America, there's no resiliency. All we know is Black. That's all we know. But the African, I see this all the time. The African will come to America and will the African.
Get out the way so you can get mommy's breakfast ready.
The African will come to America and outperform the African born in America because he's operating on cultural standards. they have an understanding that regardless of what the white man tries to do to them, because they are culturally strengthened, they've got stuff to do. They got stuff they can use. They got tools in their bag to address these racial scenarios, which the African born in America has no access to.
George,
Yes, sir.
culture. I talked last week and this week to a close friend of mine, a psychiatrist from Pakistan. Okay, where you say he did his thing over here, retired now, and we've been friends for like 40, almost 40 years. And I'm talking culture. Okay, why are Indians, Pakistanis over here moving up the line? Culture. Why are West Africans heavily coming over here? Education. Okay, as one African woman said on a video, it's with them, it's not an idea. Why should anybody be better than you? Nobody should be better than you. You should have the best grades. Okay, that's culture. Our culture. We have what do you say? We have a different culture, that we have things in our culture, at least in the past your age. I'm like with what do you say? I'm like with Douglas. Okay, I'm 71 also. Okay, and we've heard the terms a N can't tell me SHIT. What is that about? Okay, well, that's just what do you say? Educated in is a fool. Is that there? Okay. Putting down intelligence, education. Okay. Our culture needs, what do you say? Who are we? Okay. Who are we? Are we what did you say? Slaves, niggers, Negroes, colored, black, African American. What are we that put us together? Because just being black don't do it. That didn't work in Africa. That stuff got us over here. So somebody, what do you say? We weren't together over there. We weren't together over here, except in the fields. When free time came, we were forced together. But the mentality of us being really together, we ain't never been together. What do you say? I'm not Irish American with Irish. Get their community, stick together. We're going to pull up as Irish people or Indians American. We're going to pull up. Hey, we have our own food, and then we get our food and we grow together. We need to build. What do you say? We need to build culture, and yeah, as I say, that's in the 10-year Black Growth and Development Plan. Move on. I'm finished.
And that's one of the objectives process.
Can I jump in here right quickly?
Yeah. Real quick, just let me respond to Brother Means.
Okay.
And
please.
So, Brother Means, what I really appreciate about this process, and as I answered to Mr. Houston earlier, I don't come in as the expert in how you think. Every time I do these, I learn so much. There's always new names to learn. There's always new perspectives to learn. And so I come in every time I do these with a blank slate, because I want to clear out what I already know to make room for what I don't know. And so I encourage us to all kind of take that attitude, because, what's that cliche? You're either growing or you're dying. There's no in betweens. You're either growing, and if you stop learning, then you're dying. So you have to stay in a constant state. And the game of race is changing every day. They're changing this game up every day. So we have to be nimble of mind in order to know how to effectively address this ideological attack against the African. Okay, brother, go ahead.
When you get into culture and you look at our culture, it's the most splintered, fragmented culture on the planet. But as far as African people around the world is concerned, we probably have more tools in our box to confront the problem than any African walking, okay, except for those who control the wealth of African nations. As far as what we control, we're the best educated African people on the planet. Even our miseducated children are better educated than African children. I have walked Africa. I'll be back in Africa this week doing some more walking. But the problem that we have with our brothers in Africa is that they come with a culture. We come with none. I'm a Houston. I was born and raised in Houston, Texas. Now I probably got more in common, and maybe less, with brothers who were born and raised in New Orleans, Mobile, Alabama, Birmingham, Alabama, Atlanta, Georgia, because of one reason. It has to do with Jim Crow. We went through the same Jim Crow era, if you're my age, and it looked the same way. So it shaped us and molded how we thought. All right, we were either fighting it or we had either given into it. But now the brothers from Chicago, New York, Boston, Philadelphia, they grew up in a different culture. And it's not similar to ours unless they had strong Southern roots or a Southern grandmother in there who at least gave them, this is how we were taught to cook food from the South. And a lot of that did go up north with them, but they grew up in gangs, gang violence. They grew up and saw a lot of stuff I never saw. Okay. And now that's their culture. Does it shape up with mine? No. Different culture, totally different. I don't even know how they survived it. I don't even know why they stayed. Okay. And the nightmares of their culture are different from the nightmares of my culture. So we have to begin to understand that the game played on us has been much more sophisticated and damaging than any played on anybody else due to how we got here. But the game played on our African brothers is just as debilitating. Now, how do we rectify that? I don't know. Because number one.
Go ahead.
Number one, our African brothers will throw that cultural thing on you in a minute. You don't understand the culture. Well, I don't want to understand it. My great-great-grandfather was denied it. So I don't care about it. And I throw that back out them and coming this week, I'm gonna have to use it again. I don't care about your culture. I'm not a black female. My heart is not bleeding for you. All right. I came over here to get something done. I didn't come over here to, my poor African brother. Hell no. We're either gonna sit down, figure out how to use the tools that I bought, how to use what you have to move the whole continuum. They don't like to hear that. So, but that's how I have to approach it because I don't have a lot of time left on the planet to play with somebody. Okay. So what I don't have culturally, what you got culturally, it's sum total, it hasn't done you much good. You don't run your country. Your country is being ran by bankers in Europe. Tell me what the difference is. My culture is being ran by bankers in America who will not allow them to enter into the mainstream of their culture because they control the access to capital. So tell me what the difference is. And while you're telling me what the difference is, tell me why we should waste any time on it. Because there are things we can do together that we need to start working on that has nothing to do with culture, but has to do with human need. Let's work on those.
Excellent comment.
So you cover, go ahead, Brother Means.
I think it's important that we remind ourselves that what took place under William Leopold also took place in the United States. Neither of us have our own indigenous original culture, whether it's Africans today or Americans today. But if we're doing continent of Africa, we should look at our commonalities and the continuum of the dimension that goes beyond our ancestors, because most of us only don't know more than 4 or 5 of our ancestors or descendants. We go beyond the institution of the hideous form of chattel slavery. You'll discover that there are things that are commonalities, not based on our culture, but based on our indigenous African identity. Our identity, that's what makes us who we are. And our identity means, in other words, our identity or know thyself means not only know your individual self, but to know your ancestral self and your descendants self, so that you can communicate that for the. But most importantly, I think it's important for us to discover these survival techniques that we both have had, because neither of us have practiced our own original indigenous culture. We've tried to secretly hide it, but there is no commonality in our culture. I've lived in Morocco, North Africa, where I was born. I've lived in New York City. I lived in Tampa, Florida. And in no place is there one culture. The only thing that I can identify with is that I found either folks love me or folks hate me. I've always got in where I fit in. My only point is that in addition to Africa, we should begin to look further at those things that unite us and not divide us.
Now, Brother Houston, you covered a lot of ground there, and the first component of what you said was we have a lot of tools compared to other culture groups to work with here in America, and that is so true. And education being one of them. And if you note on the slide here, this comes from Dr. Claude Anderson, and he talks about this 5-floor process. As Africans in America, we have operated on the inverse of this building. Economics is on the first floor because upon economic base, everything else grows. And Dr. I don't want to get too much into the weeds of this because this is in the presentation, but in Dr. Claude's analysis, economics in a community means that the dollar in that community is circulating at least 8 to 12 times before it leaves the community. Collectively in America, the Black racial demographic is a $1.4 trillion consumer group. We have $1.4 trillion flowing through our hands annually, but it flows through and stays in our hands less than 6 hours and goes right back into other culture groups' hands.
Racist economy.
So with that, without an economic base, and that's why, again, I really appreciated Brother Ross's comments at the beginning before we even started, because he mentioned several times your Black chambers of commerce. No successful cultural group is successful without a strong, active chamber of commerce that is advocating actively and representing the community it serves. The Black chambers of commerce across the country are the weakest organizations compared to any other cultural group's commerces. Our solution, whether it's African, whether it's Black, will not occur without a strong, well-participated in chamber of commerce that is representing and addressing our needs. And Brother Ross did that right off the bat at the beginning. So we do have a lot to work with, and we do have education, but what we've done, we've taken Dr. Claude Anderson's model and turned it upside down, thinking that if we get educated, that will solve our problems. Well, it's 2024, and guess what? It's not. More education does not mean you become more wealthy. More wealth means you become more wealthy.
I've seen some figures coming out on how much farmland we control coming out of World War II. This is a pivotal time for us, because coming out of World War II, there was a a consensus that we must have freedom. Okay, aside from what we had or what we were able to hold on to going into Jim Crow. We had our own farmland. We had a lot of things going in this country. But as my grandfather once told me when I was 22 years old, and I've never forgotten this, son, there is nothing that you have that the white man can one day come and take, including your life. You need to remember that. Don't let it hold you back. Don't let it stop you. But remember the environment in which you work. Well, I'm looking at a regression. I talk to young black men all the time, and one young man was telling me, "Well, I'm gonna vote for Donald Trump." I said, I can sum this up in one thing for you, youngster. You came out of after Jim Crow. You came after we decided that the civil rights struggle was over. We won. Let's go off into the sunset. Let's sing Kumbaya. Well, that didn't happen. All right. But the problem you had is that your community shielded you to a certain extent from the bigotries around you, from racism. All right. You went to school with white children. Now, white children don't have any power, but they can exercise it through bullying and other things. But that's not like what I saw. I saw a lot different world. So you would know you never aligned yourself. I don't care how much you may agree with some of their principles, but you never align yourself with a racist under no circumstances. That is what we were taught by my grandparents, my parents. These kids were taught they had a better situation. And I was just having this conversation yesterday with a group of guys. I said, you know what? They need Donald Trump because they need to get their tail kicked. Like anytime when a white boy or a white cop comes down the street in Texas, in Houston, he could whip your ass at any minute, anytime. And you knew that. So you did not put yourself in a position to be abused by them under any circumstances. My son didn't grow up in that. My grandchild's not growing up in that. But they might need to see some of those days to understand the urgency of our situation and begin to start formulating new approaches and new ideas, even new tactics. Somebody was telling me, well, I'm not leaving America. Well, you don't have to. I am. You don't have to. And I'm not going to Africa, but I'm leaving America. But stay around this long enough, and you will see some reasons why you might think about leaving.
Now, could I interject?
We've done everything. We've done everything they've asked us to do, and we still haven't made it yet. I'm tired. Okay? I am tired.
Everybody who's in here, and I'm sorry, I know we got some other comments, so I guess you guys see the discussion as it's going, but that is to encourage you to participate as well. Your voice is very important to us. So please don't hold back. Clarence, you got a comment?
Well, I came in a little bit late. I'm playing catch up, but Mr. Houston and I like what he said about not having any. Well, they got a different culture in the South than they do in the North, and I'm kind of 100% with Mr. Houston. But like I said, I'm playing catch up here, and I'm going to hold my opinion until the last.
Okay, thank you, sir. But I want everybody to please don't sit here and hear the wonderful discussion going on and you feel like you can't participate. Your voice, your thoughts are very important. So please open up.
Oh, one other thing. Was this recorded?
Yes, it's being recorded.
Okay, well, I'll just chance to hear the beginning then.
Okay, very good.
Yes.
And look, I think we got a great discussion. As a matter of fact, someone posted a comment, and I say someone, I know who did it, that if we got what we're asking for money, reparation is what I'm referring to, that is going to go in that, what is it, 6 hours, George, that money when it comes in our community is out in 6 hours?
That's correct.
So if we got all that money, it's going to leave us anyway. So what benefits would that be? And Evelyn, I'm posing your question out. You say, why which is why reparation will be futile. The resources will go back to the oppressor. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
Okay, well,
Yes.
there's one no and two yes.
Yes,
But-
I agree with that
I agree with it too.
because
And
he
go
just
ahead.
explained to us how circulation works. So if the money comes to you through reparations, it's going to leave in 6 hours until you implement the economic base. And one thing I wanted to add, we're talking about Jim Crow and all of these things that happened in the past. The younger generation, they don't care about that. They didn't live it. You can talk to them until you are blue in the face, but you have to understand the generations. You have to understand Gen X, the millennials, Gen C, how they receive information. Until you know that, they're not going to really listen to you unless they are your children, maybe. And the last thing I want to say is the root cause of a lot of this is how you grew up. If you didn't grow up knowing your purpose and your destiny, then race is what's going to identify you.
Sonia, thank you so much. Those are beautiful comments. Very meaningful. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well,
So on that, on Ms. Sonia's comment about our children, that is really an important area. As a member of the older generation, it's my generation's responsibility for the education of those coming after me. And so the reflection of the generations that we see after us on their lack of knowledge is a reflection on how well we did not teach them. One of my roles is as a mentor in school systems, and it's amazing how many 4th to 6th grade young African boys and girls don't know what the Ku Klux Klan is. They never heard of the Ku Klux Klan. Now here's why that's really a problem, because the Ku Klux Klan is not an organization of the past. It still is in existence, and we're raising our children to be ignorant of organizations that are specifically designed for their demise. And that's our responsibility. And from that, and I'll stop talking, I always use Malcolm X's quote that only a fool sends his children to be taught by his enemy.
Come on, man.
And we continue to send our children to Eurocentric public education systems that are statistically proven to be the direct conduit called the school to prison pipeline.
Yep.
So it's important. That's why this meeting is important. First, we need to start taking responsibility and accountability for the state of our community. It's not just about one person. It's not about the individual. It's not about, I got mine, I'm good. This is a collective attack on us and our people. And I don't know the scripture, but it goes along, a man leaves an inheritance for his children and his children's children. We're not doing that, guys.
I think it's
we're
Now,
failing.
I just wanted to.
Dr. Neese, hold on one second. George, I'm going to ask you to understand how important this meeting is to all of us. And I'm going to ask you, would you be willing to do another meeting? Because I think everybody in here today would possibly invite other people to attend another meeting. Is that possible for your schedule?
Well, so actually, the purpose of this meeting was to get you to entertain the idea of implementing this presentation online that I developed.
Right.
that we can come together as an organization. We need to address the information about the Black vote as soon as possible in a way that is it's overwhelming force, that we change the way our community is thinking about the voting process. So I'm wanting to lead to action on that piece. That was the primary goal here. I'm glad to come back and present more, but my specific purpose for this was to present this online product as a way to be in alignment with the Exploring the Continent of Africa's mission to start affecting change.
Okay.
And that's my primary first goal.
Wonderful. Okay. Dr. Cook asked the question, so when should we discuss solutions? That's our question from Dr. Cook.
If I would ask that, why are we talking about an American education that has failed us when the Americans were not the most educated people in all of human civilization? The origins of the best education were in the ancient schools of mystery within the continent of the motherland in different locations. And I think that if we start with founding, or at least finding out where the origins of education comes from, I think that will be the best source for us to learn how to educate not only our communities, but to recognize that we don't have a full and comprehensive and thorough education ourselves. Thank you.
So now that is a question and a statement that is solution oriented. And so we could definitely get into depth of that. But again, to what Mr. McLean asked about future meetings, my first goal here is to present to you this online media presentation that I feel would add a lot to address the critical problem of the upcoming election, to start getting us to think differently so that we behave differently. So in terms of priority, right now it is the Black vote that I'm trying to get you all to consider so that we can start holding forums, bringing more people into the fold and exposing them to information, to the education of the information of the voting process, to take them through the self-reflection piece, like what you guys went through regarding identity, what race is, what culture is, and then to start implementing solutions based on the correct information, how you all have decided to think about a thing, and how you want to align that with the values of exploring the continent of Africa. That's what I really want to try to hone in on as soon as possible so that we can start taking some action.
Mr. Ross, your hand is up, sir.
Oh, we've been through so much, covered so much, and very important. And let me just go in reverse or the past things. What do you say? What is it? Program 2025.
Project 2025.
Project 2025. What do you say? Education. What do you say? They plan on getting rid of the Department of Education, and where that will work with us, where you say our schools getting the money that's needed, it's like that's not gonna be happening. But fortunately, as I say, fortunately, we've learned enough during the pandemic, okay, about how to handle remote education. Okay, this will be a time for us to start getting education back into our hands to give to our people. Like I say, there's been enough information out there online as to what went wrong with the remote education during the pandemic, what went right, how to do it right. And if they're going to have some vouchers, I don't know, maybe brothers and sisters with some form of degree in education could start their own school online, get some of those vouchers, and have 20 students each that they handling online, da 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 da. Anyway, That's one thing. Okay. Our responsibility to our children. Okay. Idea where we at, da 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 da. We've got to, I believe, we've got to really get into something I was studying back in the days. What do you say? Persuasion, propaganda techniques of brainwashing. Okay, they teach that in
Come on.
school. Okay, they teach that in school, how to reach our people. There's a media out there. There's people that they listen to, like Jay-Z. As I say, Jay-Z ain't who he used to be. He's got daughters, wife, and $1 billion, and he cares about Black people. There's many that care about Black people to put the word out to our youth. So we just have to know how to get them. Okay, we just have to know how to get them. And what was said, let me see, your grandfather said they can't they can take anything from you. Okay, what do you say? They can nothing you can have that the white man can't take from you.
Online.
But okay, but still, the Jews in Europe was going through programs, okay? And what did they come up with? Education. You may take my land, okay? But you can't take what's in my head, okay?
Right.
And that from that, they were able to go anywhere in the world and use their head and make money. So there's something they can't take. Claude Anderson, he's still around, bless his soul, okay? He came up, we say that so many of us look at, da, 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 look at, we say, bam, bam, but he gives an outline. He didn't get people together to implement, okay? Getting people together to implement a plan, okay? Not say, hey, we need this and that and that and that order. Y'all, what do you say? He's giving instruction, but you got to be able to grab people. And just like I say, we have sociologists that know how to grab our people's attention, keep our people's attention. That's it. Okay. Not in touch with, yeah, okay, we're not in touch with culture. Okay.
So let me interject here again. I know there's plenty to say, but the purpose of this meeting today is to have you all consider this presentation that I'm offering as a solution-based program, a part of the Exploring the Continent of Africa's mission statement or mission objectives. There have been a lot of things said today that when we come together formed in the official intent to take action, we can start brainstorming these solutions, getting everybody's perspectives, and then figuring out how to implement them. But first we have to start with just creating that collaboration, which what I'm bringing to this collaboration is a different way of thinking about this problem. So that's why you're probably hearing things said in a way that you may not have heard before. And it's going to be hitting you a little different. It's going to be hitting you like, what's he saying here? This is not really, I'm not sure about this guy, but it's the definition of insanity, right? If you keep doing the same thing, and that's what we've been doing, we're doing the same thing. So what I'm presenting to you is the opportunity to look at it differently in order to do something differently. I'm not here to tell you, here's what you should do, here's what's right, here's what's wrong, because that's not effective. What's effective is challenging thought so that we start to think differently. And in thinking differently, we can begin to get different results. That's the goal here. So I don't know if I'm making myself clear, but that's what I'm trying to do here is create this collaborative relationship where we are now spreading this information, spreading this process, and creating change.
If I may say something, I'm with you on that. There's so many times when we can have these good discussions, and then that's the end of it. That's the end of it, and we never get to a solution. I'm in agreement with you. Let's continue this or improve on this, and take it to the next level. I'm with you.
So the way that would look, this is this product here, this multimedia presentation. It's an online presentation, so people would have to pay to do the presentation. And what I'm proposing is that we form an affiliate relationship where the program is presented through Exploring the Continent of Africa, and the price base is set up so that the continent of Africa gets compensation for holding the forum, facilitating the class, and spreading information. So now it's monetizing the mission of the continent of Africa, Exploring the Continent of Africa.
There's always the question, what do you say? How much is it going to cost this group?
Well, it doesn't cost the group to put it on. You don't have to invest anything to do it.
Well, I'm for it 100% then.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, if you say, okay, Exploring the Continent of Africa and George Middleton Consulting are officially entering into an affiliate relationship, that means now we are going to host this online presentation, make it available in however you want to set the format in. The people that attend have to pay to be on it, but it doesn't cost the people putting it on anything. You don't have to buy a product, you don't have to put anything down. We're just entering into an arrangement. We set the price point out that everybody's comfortable with and agrees with, and then we start hosting these events and really promoting it within your network to spread this message and to create a collaborative culture towards making solutions to addressing these issues. Go ahead.
This model, first of all, George, thank you so much. I apologize for being late. I wasn't aware, just because life has been lifing, but thank you so much, and for sharing this model that Mr. Middleton is sharing with us. It happens much like a virus. It's a contagion, if you will. And if we, in the community of Exploring the Continent of Africa, will take this on, the hopes is that from this platform, we will begin to spread by beginning to host regular, what we need are consistent, regular meetings of this information being disseminated. And then thereby, we take that information, spread it out, but then we take it to other organizations. For instance, I'm with another group, and I would take from the continent of Africa, bring that group to invite them to our platform to view this information. And then from their excitement and understanding, take it back. And then that group would actually become a host. And then others from other groups would come in and monetize that because of this work spreading out. So I'm hoping that you're seeing how that works. That the host of Africa, the continent of Africa, we become that host, that affiliate. We bring people in for them to see this information. Then we take that to other networks, and then they take it to their networks. We want to always promote them taking it to other networks. Why? Because that's how information is disseminated. that's how the knowledge can quickly get disseminated. So I hope that helps to shed light. We are a people who are fragmented. I've been taking some notes, and like the brother said, I came in a little late. It is very difficult to talk solution-based matters because, like the sister said, who was on earlier, we're dealing with a generation who is, I would use the term, cognitively dissident from the real issues that plague us as a people, right? We are living now in the fruit, or in the, we are bearing the fruit of what has happened in times past. And now we have a generation who is so disillusioned to the real state of affairs. They have been so cultivated to be consumers and to be individual people, not seeing themselves as a part of a whole. And so it is with that huge precipice that we stand on, that as in times past, we had a root of connectivity because we understood the enemy. We understood the clear and present danger that we faced. We lived in it. Now, this generation of artificial intelligence, artificial environments, these children have been fed even the food that they have eaten.
Did we lose you?
Did the government get wind of it and cut her off?
Yes, they got wind of it.
Because she was preaching, boy. She was preaching.
Yes, she was. Yes, she was. I hope she get back.
Evelyn.
I'm sorry.
No, not you. I mistakenly, somebody else, there was noise coming from another person. I was trying to mute them. Unfortunately, I muted you. So please get back into what you were saying. And I do apologize to you. My apology.
I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't know.
Go on,
I
sweetheart.
just know that I don't know where I left off at, but all I can say is that we are facing challenges unlike the past in this respect, that we are now dealing with a generation who has disconnected not only from their culture, but from their very identity as human. And how do I say that? Because anytime you will mutilate your body to be something other than what you've been made to be,
come on,
there is a real identity crisis. So I remember growing up, they said if the white man sneezes, the black man catches a cold, right? So where we have allowed another, my sister committed suicide when I was in the 3rd grade. I went to God and I said, I don't want to serve a God that would let, a beautiful person like my sister, be, taken out of here, and the bad person still, because she was in an abusive relationship. So in the 3rd grade, I will never forget my creator saying these words to me: when you allow another to define your worth, you make them your God. Our God in America, because we have refused the identity and the image of being created in the image and likeness of our creator, now we are now seeing the fruit of our children and our children's children taking on the identity of that which despises their very nature and beingness. We know the cradle of civilization comes out of the continent, but that's not the issue we're dealing with right now. What we're dealing with now is a generation of individuals who, something as basic as a right to vote, you have the right to be actively involved in the direction of your community, starting at a grassroots level. Don't go to the national level, because we already know the board and the game is set. But if you can't even in your basic community have enough courage, knowledge, and wisdom and understanding to get involved on a basic grassroots governmental level of your mayors, your judges, your magistrates, then how do we expect them to even, okay, I'm going on too much. All I'm going to say is let's do the heavy lifting. Let's share this tool that Mr. Middleton is presenting as a part of what we're all talking about, solution. Because if the building is on fire and they're in there asleep and they don't know that it's on fire, we're going to have to knock and scream and yell to let them know the building is on fire.
Come on.
And this is a tool that we can use to make that happen. Okay, bye.
Thank you.
I think I'm very, very super excited. And I think the meeting has exceeded expectations, if I even had any from the beginning, as it is today. And as comments are coming out, each person who is in here, we got something going on that's very special. And George, I thank you for wanting to put the meeting together and present the information that you have presented to us. But I guess the next step is a big question right now. Do we understand, all of us, while we're here, what the next steps that George is trying to achieve for this group?
I believe so. I believe the next steps would be to take this tool that is already formatted, ready for dissemination, and come together and decide how this group will divide and conquer, if you will. If we have regular meetings, we've got to determine what day of the week or what time of the week that would be to have us who are here in this meeting tonight host this presentation. Because basically, I think that's all you need to do is host the presentation, have a Q&A, and then ask others to do the very thing that we are doing. Take this to your networks, post a presentation, invite people in, and I think it can grow from there. But the simplest thing is just to do it. It's just to start with a day of the week, who's going to host it, and then be consistent to do that, because consistency is going to be key. If they come back and they don't see you, they're going to go on. You got 2.5 seconds to hold them. And if you don't have it consistently, you'll lose them. And we can have sidebar conversations thereafter, but to me, that's the simplest way.
I really feel sorry for the people who were invited to come to the meeting that did not make it today. That's where I really feel sad about this beautiful meeting. But it does motivate me now to push harder to get more participation. We should have 100+ people in here, and this should grow. We have the capability to make it grow like that. Because all of you guys know somebody who knows somebody who really need to hear what is being discussed and what George's objective is. So, George, I'm going to do everything that I can to escalate, to create the growth that is needed. Because with this comes awareness that we all really need. And but I do have a question, by the way, and it's been identified about our young people. How did they get there as young people, so unaware of what we are so much aware of? They are just desensitized to it. They have no association with it. Who convinced them to be the way that they are? And how did we not see them being convinced to think the way that they think today? Obviously, George, you're correct. They don't know anything about the KKK. But who was that smooth to pull this over their eyes and also our eyes at the same time? Pretty good work on their behalf, I would have to say, if you don't mind me making that point.
So is that a question to me, Brother McLean?
I'm just throwing it out. Yeah. But look like there's some other people want to respond too.
Okay,
Yes.
gotcha.
On to that.
Okay.
Tyrone, you said, how did we get here?
Well, yeah. How do our young kids get to a point in place where we're living in the same household, well, not the same community as it was, but they don't know the issues that we know so well. They're totally naive, either naive to those issues, or as someone stated, they went to school with the white kids, and that assimilation into their environment, they lost what we grew up with and what we understand even now as mature adults. How did how was that so crafted to them that we
I
didn't quite understand it? But that's part of what I'm saying, I guess.
like
Well,
that. How
okay.
it happened is the foundation of the family has been eroded.
Yes, ma'am.
If you go back, and I always say you have to know how to communicate with these generations. If you look at Gen Z, they were raised by babies.
Yep.
And none of this history was discussed because they were raised by babies. It was all about the survival mode. And Mr. Middleton mentioned we can't strive and survive at the same time. They were just trying to survive because they were babies raising babies. That's the bottom line.
Yes, ma'am.
There was no
Well,
grand.
let me ask you this then. If we were going into politics now, but if they're doing like abortions, they don't want. I mean, they want us to have more kids, and that's but that's been our problem all the time because we never stop reproducing, and it started at an early age, Gen X, right? But if they continue to have babies at a young age, then babies are raising babies. It's not going to get any better with abortions.
Okay. May I interject? Can you hear
Yes,
me?
sir, please.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, as they say, the number one killer of black males is abortion. Bam. That's one thing. I remember back when I was in college, I looked just in the library, looking at a book, and it came out that up until 1968, black youth employment rate was higher than white youth employment rate. Up until 1968. What happened in 1968? King got killed. That's one. There was an awakening of black pride. Okay, people, what they say, yeah, I had one of them cake cutters in my head when I had some hair. Okay, and a lot of we ain't taking this whitey. Okay, there was the Vietnam War, where you say 68 on, that took a lot of brothers on a trip to what we say. I've worked in the VA, I've worked in the VA hospital, and friends of, like I say, my age, okay, and a lot of people were not able to maintain a family. They couldn't even be a good big brother, okay? Not even talking about a husband. They couldn't be a good big brother because they got problems. So I look at him getting killed. We know about the welfare system that happened from 68. From 68 on, man don't have a job. He got to go for her to get some money. Okay.
Yep.
And from there, what they say, Vietnam era. We remember in Chicago, wait, oh, he's a bubblegum pimp. He's a bubblegum pimp. Okay, what they say, he trying to pimp. Everybody out there trying to pimp. What are they trying to pimp? These girls that don't have big brothers at home, that dad is gone, so forth and so on, to where you get generation of us not being, and what they say, I guess Monahan talked about some stuff in the Monahan report that hey, we talk bad about him doing what he doing. But anyway, hey, I'm all for being us getting together with with you, George. I just wonder, how do we get 4 Black Americans in? Because when you say when there's a fee, uh, we tend to flee.
Well, you know, the thing is, we can't limit ourselves to the weaknesses of others. All right, you all came together with this concept of exploring the continent of Africa. So whatever this presentation that I'm bringing you, it may not match your mission statement. Maybe it doesn't. But if it does, whatever you do, even if it's not this program, I guarantee you there's no volunteer solution for this problem. Any solution you come up with is going to require resources. And we as an African community, we have a dysfunctional relationship with money.
Come on.
Because most of us are in survival mode. So you asking me for what? $5? Oh, that's a problem. And that is not meant to be a put down. It's trauma. We've been traumatized around this thing about money. See, with the white experience with money is totally different. They have a whole, because their experience with money has not been filled with trauma. But with the Black experience, it's trauma filled. So I'm not putting my brother and sister down because they're tight on the dollar. I understand. I was there once. We have to take up the mantle as leaders and figure out ways to overcome their weaknesses so we can bring them up. But I guarantee you, whatever the solution is, you cannot volunteer your way to the Black advancement. It's going to require sacrifice, physical resources, mental resources, and economic resources. Now, the other thing about this initiative with you all, the reason I'm approaching you from an affiliate perspective is because you need financial resources. This could be the beginning of many more affiliate relationships to happen. And we start to create this mindset of now we're creating win-win relationships to address a common goal for the common good. It's going to require resources, and we shouldn't be afraid of that.
Amen.
Especially when we don't mind spending resources on chicken sandwiches. That's not really chicken. I'm sorry. It's my people. It's my people. I love my people. We do what we do. And we will spend good money on clothes and shoes and labels, and you beg for what you need and borrow for what you need, and you spend for what you want.
Wow.
I don't believe that this is going to go to the masses. I believe it's going to go to the remnant. I believe it's going to go to those who have an ear to hear. Do we want to save our people? Yes, we do. But when I want to save you more than you want to be saved, something's wrong with me. I believe, for my energy, the years that I have left on this planet, that my time is being spent very selfishly. It's an investment. And I am not going to invest my time, talent, and treasure in wastelands. I'm looking for the soil. I'm looking for the good partners, the collaborative works, which is why I'm here. But there comes a point, the year I was born, this nation was in an upheaval, and I have lived long enough to see that we're still in the same upheaval, even with everybody that has passed on. So what does that tell me? The issues that we are facing as human beings, they are here because there must be a law somewhere in this universe that we have refused to acknowledge and to obey. Otherwise, why are we seeking for it? Why are we searching for it? So let's be wise about this project. Let's let's do what we need to do, but don't think that even Mr. Middleton has given us something, Mr. Ross has something. Everybody on this call has something to offer. And if we don't see the value in supporting it and investing in it, and it may not be your thing, but you might know somebody that does know somebody that can invest and will invest. But let's just do what our part is to do. And I remember growing up hearing this, everybody waited on somebody to do what anybody could have done, but nobody did what the one could have done. Do you know what I mean? So I love y'all so much, but let's just do it. It's not that hard, it's not that hard. The solution is each one reach one. The answer is be the change you want to see. My life motto is be the light I want to see, the joy I want to feel, the love I want to know. And I think we can do that. We've got a great tool in hand. Let's begin here. And let's just watch it happen.
Kenneth Sims got a comment. He has a hand. Sims, Mr. Sims, your hand is up.
Yes, sir. Listening to everyone, I think me and you, Tyrone, are the oldest ones on the phone call. And I went through it all.
Oldest.
The oldest, the wise.
I'm over the age of 19, Kenneth, so go on.
I went to all the eras. I went to the civil rights era when it was all about being black. By design, it switched to ERA, equal rights. And where a black man should have gone because of civil rights, ERA came in and the white woman left the house. And then they came along with women's rights. And then that made the struggle for black rights fall down. Every time it seemed as though as a race we was gonna move up, a different program came out to push us down, and we went along with it, and it wasn't our fight. We lost.
That's right.
We lost because of ignorance on our part, in my opinion.
No, you're on point there, brother.
Hey guys, if you don't mind, I'm going to stop recording this meeting, but we can still talk. But I don't want to have a real long recording because most of the time it discourages people from watching the video. So I'm just going to stop recording, but we're going to continue to talk. So please.
Brother Sims, you